Yeah, on a random side note though, like, damn, I kind of really like the Majula theme.
The Majula theme is really good, yeah.
Is kind of really good.
Low key, I think Majula is my favorite hub.
I might agree with
Out of
you.
all,
I might agree with you, to be
and
honest.
Majula is super pretty, and I like the feel of the NPCs, and they all have their space. You know, it's not super cramped, and they're not just
Yeah,
in a random
yeah.
hole. It's less efficient. You have to like walk around more to get to each of the people, and they're not all in a very great place. But I don't know, dude.
I'm a big Dark
Firelink,
Souls 3 simp, but
Firelink,
like
Firelink in Dark Souls 3 is a little too cramped, and in one, it's just unwieldy. I don't like Firelink in one at all.
Fire Lincoln 1's kind of just like a pit stop.
Yeah, well, Firelink in one. Okay, to be fair, Firelink in one wasn't meant to be the like central hub that 2 and 3 have,
Yeah.
where you
Well,
actually need to
because there
come back
wasn't
all the
really
time.
like teleporting until later. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
the Pursuer. You wanted to talk about the Pursuer?
Oh, are we recording?
Sure are.
All right, yeah, the Pursuer. Dark Souls 2 is my favorite game to talk about in the series because it has a lot of interesting ideas. Pursuer being one of them. It's a boss fight that you can find earlier in the level that jumps down and attacks you. I think it's guarding a undead bone shard or whatever the equivalent is in Dark Souls 2. I forget. Um, and yeah, it's a really interesting fight because it's pretty aggressive, especially for Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is probably the slowest game of the series. And you learn in this fight a lot about the game where it's a lot more about micro spacing rather than like completely avoiding attacks like in Dark Souls 1. And for instance, there's a charge attack where it'll charge at you and then swipe upwards. It's an attack it uses a lot, and you can dodge it just by holding right without rolling or anything. And once you figure that out, you kind of learn that you need to. You basically Dark Souls 2 is a lot more about managing hitboxes, I think, than Dark Souls 1 is. I think that because the hitboxes are cleaner. Not as clean as they are in Dark Souls 3, but
Mhm.
the game is slow enough where you can space out being spaced exactly around these hitboxes, unlike Dark Souls 3, which is too fast for that. Yeah, Pursue is a really interesting fight. The arena has a ballista in it, so if you're playing multiplayer or if you're really crafty, you can sometimes manage to get a shot off in it and like half it with just
Yeah,
one shot.
dude. I love that
Um,
that's a thing.
it's great. It's great that that's there. Like it's as about as difficult as actually just trying to fight it, but it's fun and it's really
Uh-huh.
entertaining and it's a really interesting idea that Pursuer comes back multiple times. Um,
Yeah, not to mention if you could fight him early when he comes down and freaking whacks at you and you
yeah,
could beat him
you can
there and
beat him.
that's really cool.
Yeah. Um, I think
And
the Pursuer is a great fight. I would say it's one of my favorite in Dark Souls 2, especially in the base game. The DLC it might not be my one of my favorites, but definitely in the base game it is.
yeah,
Um, it's a cool fight that looks freaking menacing. The
getting
shield
whacked by his ghosts is less fun than
there's
but you
there's
know.
also this thing where out of all of the games, the enemy bosses having shields matters the most in Dark Souls 2 because you actually can hit the shield and will bounce off, and it's not just there for show.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the enemies, I don't think there's any enemies in Dark Souls 1 that have shields, unless if I'm forgetting one. But like a lot of or bosses, but a lot of the enemies, like the big dudes in Anor Londo, have shields that you can just kind of like roll around and behind and hit, and it doesn't really matter. They have a shield. Like you actually have to play around Pursuer's shield. It like is a
True.
factor that matters. And I know a lot of people dislike the amount of armored knights you fight in Dark Souls 2, but I honestly think that's a good direction for the series to go in over the abundance of big creatures that you just run around behind of and smack the butt of. You get
Yeah.
Dark.
I mean, I like monster designs as much as the next guy, but fighting your camera is not the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah. I would actually put the Pursuer as an A tier boss fight.
I would agree with you. I have no reason not to put him as an A tier boss fight. Actually, I'd probably put him.
I'd put him above Ornstein.
I'd put
Yeah,
him right
I'd put
there.
him there. Wow, we agree.
Yeah. sorry, not sorry. I think the Pursuer's neater idea than Ornstein and Smo is. Oops. Yeah, Burnt Ivory King just so happened to be the second boss on this tier list, so I guess we gotta talk about pretty much the actual final boss of Dark Souls 2 second.
Uh, well, it's the final boss of the DLC.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's definitely the biggest fight in the game. Like, there's the most going on with it. It gets very difficult. Are we including talking about the Chaos Knights and
We
the
have
like?
to talk about the knights if we're
Because
talking about this fight.
yeah, because they're in the fight if you don't get the summons to close all the portals. And I think that this fight is just kind of way too much if you don't. I like the fact
Yeah.
that you can fight them without that, but it really isn't. It's designed to be a fight that you basically fight one-on-one after all the portals have been closed.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
And if you get all of the knights, you get an extra knight, so, you know.
Yeah. Which is not really, I think, something that should be aimed for, actually. I think that the fight is best when it's a one-on-one.
I agree.
You know, uh, I think it's a pretty cool fight. I don't think it's as good as Sir Alone, in my opinion. I think Sir Alone is a better one-on-one fight, but I think it's probably one of the best one-on-one night fights in Dark Souls 2.
No, I think so as well.
The
Having to
aesthetic is immense. It's astounding.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite arenas in the entire series.
Having to grab the like Ivory Knights isn't that big of a deal. It's not like, you know, it's not the worst thing ever. You're probably going to do the area anyway if you've never done it before. I suppose on repeat playthroughs it might get a little annoying, but if you if you fight him with all the portals open, the fight is dumb and bad and you just get swarmed by a bunch of enemies that you can't one-shot. So yeah.
Yeah, the enemies that you actually have to fight leading up to that boss, not in the run-up, in the actual boss arena, are like real enemies. They like can hit you and like deal decent damage and have a lot of health.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but just
yeah.
the one-on-one versus Burnt Ivory King, I think would be a super awesome, cool fight in Dark Souls 3, but I think because it's in Dark Souls 2, it's a little less cool than it could have been.
I agree. There's a couple of really awkward swings that they have.
Yeah.
I would put this as a low A tier boss, though. I still think that they're head
No, I
and
would too.
shoulders above most of the like.
I'd put him here.
I just don't think that they're quite as good as some of the other ones. I would actually put them a little lower, but I think that's fine.
I like him.
Yeah, okay.
Enough to put him there. I mean, I could put him lower than Ornstein's Mo if you think I should, but
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, if there's just a couple of hitboxes he has that stay out for a little long, and yeah, you know, just level adaptability. It's like, fair enough. I'll just do that. But
that is true, but yeah.
you know, it is what it is. Executioner's Chariot is a boss that I think is a really neat idea that kind of just sucks.
I think it's a really neat idea that has more going for it than most of the neat ideas in Dark Souls 1. But it still is kind of a rough. It's kind of rough.
I
don't know
guess if you
put
compare it to Ceaseless Discharge.
Well, I would compare it to even like Gravelord Nito or Pinwheel. Like, I think it's more interesting.
I think it's like same tier as Nito. Oh, he's easier than Nito, but like I think he's like kind of the same idea, and
Well,
I don't think
like,
he looks as cool either.
It's a lot like Nito, except you have to like actually path through the arena and kill the summoners. I think it's kind of a little more interesting than Nito personally, but I also think that it's a little more risky. But
Yeah.
I think that because this is one of the things I love about Dark Souls 2 is that it's willing to take these risks with bosses that are like this, that are like so wacky, where it's just like the entire first phase is you don't even fight the boss, you just run up a thing dodging the boss's attacks on occasion, and there's a bunch of skeletons, you have to fight the dudes and then take cover strategically. Is it necessarily the best boss? No. Is it necessarily even that good? It's not that great necessarily, but I think that it's at least interesting, especially if you've only played through the game once, it's something that'll make you think, oh, that was a new like experience. Like I haven't done now.
Yeah.
Replay fights of Executioner's Chariot, it starts to drop off in fun, especially once you know where the summoners are and what pattern to fight do the progress in. It becomes a lot easier.
I don't know. I think it's a cool idea, but like, I think
I
the
put it
boss
top 10
fight
too,
might be
somewhere.
a little cooler than Nito, but I think like Nito's lore and aesthetic is cooler. So
I agree. I would put it maybe below Nito or something. Maybe
I
below
don't know.
Pinwheel. I
I'd
don't
put it
know.
either below or above Nito for me, but
I think that's fair.
Smelter Demon. This is the first one, right? The other Smelter Demon's down here somewhere. There is two, by the way.
I actually can't tell. The Smelter Demon's down right, bottom right.
Yeah.
They're
I'll just
here.
say this one's the blue one. The second one. So the first one's the orange one. Okay, Smelter Demon. I think is a cool fight. Uh yeah. I don't really have a lot to say about Smelter Demon.
Smelter Demon is kind of interesting. I think my biggest problem with Smelter Demon is that it is big gated by the types of damage you've invested in. If you are invested into fire or slashing, this fight is immensely more difficult than if you've invested into, magic or
Blunt.
blunt weaponry. Blunt and magic are so much. Yeah, it's one of those things where this boss is very much defined by your playstyle and how I think that this boss plays out very differently depending on what your playstyle is. Um, I will say that there's a couple of attacks that have pretty questionable hitboxes, but I also think it's pretty decent beyond that. Like, I think the quality of this boss, if the problems were a little bit mitigated, would be higher on average than most bosses,
Yeah.
especially Dark Souls 2. I just think it does have those big problems.
I
Well,
think a
not big
big
problems.
issue with the hitboxes of this boss though is that you fight both Smelter Demons in a relatively small arena, which doesn't help.
Yeah, there's not a lot of. Yep, yep. And also, another problem with Smelter Demon is, well, problem. It's another thing to talk about is the fact that they will slowly drain your health if you're next to them in the second or third phase.
True.
And that is pretty difficult to deal with if you don't have specific. Now, Dark Souls 2 does have a lot of options to mitigate that because they've got a lot of like slowly health restoring items that you can pick up in
Yeah.
addition. But this boss puts on a lot of pressure on you, so it's hard to get the time and spacing to get those heals off, which is I think honestly the biggest challenge in the fight is not so much dodging its attacks as finding a good time to heal. Because for me, I don't know, where would you put it?
Probably. I don't know. Probably under Stray Demon or above Priscilla.
Okay, yeah, I would say that I would put it as I'd put it as a C tier fight. It's like a pretty good C tier fight, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty decent fight.
It would be like a middle of B tier fight if it wasn't for like the couple of problems I have with it. But
yeah, I mean, I think if the arena was just a little bigger, I'd put it in B tier, to be honest. But
yeah, I might too. I think it's just a little too awkward of a fight, but it could be a good fight. It's a little held back.
And the second Smelter Demon, I mean, he's kind of the same, but he's blue, and you fight him later.
Well, he does. He's a little different, right? Because he actually does magic damage.
That's true, and he resists magic.
But
doesn't he also resist fire still?
No. He's actually weak to dark and lightning. as well as strike, and only resists magic. So I would actually say Blue Smelter Demon is a better fight. I think honestly, I feel like it doesn't fit the lore, and it wouldn't make any sense to fight a Blue Smelter Demon where you fight the normal Smelter Demon. But I think that the Blue Smelter Demon would have been a better placement for the boss in the game than where the Red Smelter Demon is, just because Red Smelter Demon has so many more resistances. It's just so much harder to kill. Pretty much, unless if you have strike damage, the normal Smelter Demon is just really, really hard.
Yeah.
And not every, unlike like slashing damage, like strike damage is pretty much gated to strength builds. I don't think there's any like dex strike weapons I can think of that people actually use.
No, I mean, there's plenty of
Or like
piercing,
magic.
but
Yeah. So I would actually say that if they scaled the numbers in reverse, gave the Blue Smelter Demon the Red Smelter Demon's damage and health and vice versa, and then swap their positions, it would almost fit better.
maybe.
Yeah, I would say Blue Smelter Demon's a decent bit worse than the normal Smelter Demon just because of that, but I still think it's a C tier boss because it's still got the same moveset, and by the core moveset is pretty good.
I mean,
It's
I think
like
it's
pretty decent.
essentially the same, so I would rate it
Fair
essentially the
enough.
same.
Fair enough. I think it's a little less polarizing actually, because at that point in the game, you also have more access to more tools to deal with the fact that
That's
it's
true, but he
so
also
tanky.
does more damage and has more health. Like, it's not like they didn't scale him up.
That's true, but I don't know. Yeah, you can put them next to each other.
Also,
They're
I think
essentially the
his
same.
second phase explosion's bigger as well on the Blue Smelter Demon. I mean, you know, I could be wrong. It just seemed that way when we fought him. So, I mean, they give him a few tricks to spruce him up, I think. It's just, you know.
Yeah.
Ancient Dragon.
This fight kind of sucks.
This fight sucks a lot.
It's hard to do a fight that's big, like this big, and for it to feel good. But this was not the way to do it. Like there was better options that they've explored in previous games for big dragon fights. Like Helmet is much smaller, but I just think that you shouldn't be fighting a boss this big unless if you know how to handle it. Which, to be fair, they have to experiment around with it. But I think that this fight is honestly F tier.
I think so too.
It's just.
I mean, he's better than Ceaseless, but
yeah, he's better than Ceaseless. But pretty much, it's just a really repetitive thing where his only major attack that can actually hurt you is his when he flies into the air and breathes fire down.
and he
All his other
literally
attacks
just
are-
spams it. And
and
the
he just
worst thing
spams it. It
about
just
it is
takes,
that
like,
he's
10
flying, so you
minutes.
can't hurt him. And like, what you want to do, right? Because he's weak to it, is shoot lightning bolts at him. But all the faith miracles do significantly less damage from far away. So when he's flying, you can't even like snipe him with lightning bolts, like Gwyn does in the cinematics, because it's actually worse.
Yep.
It's just like,
Yeah.
him having like 12 billion HP doesn't help either.
He is an optional fight, but it is an optional fight where if you don't get it, then a certain boss has essentially twice as much health, so it's not really that optional.
No, not really. You kind of fight him if you're going for the true ending. Like, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. Not a fan of that fight.
Dragon Rider.
It's a really good intro fight, I think, actually. Not
He kind of
the
just a
best.
guy.
Well, he's essentially the first boss in Dark Souls 2, right? If you go that route instead of
True.
so the other way. So he could be the first boss you fight instead of the Pursuer. Is he as good as the Pursuer? No. Nowhere near.
No, you fight the
But-
last giant before the Pursuer, don't you?
You can fight them in either order, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you can also fight Dragon Rider 2 first. I guess also you can fight you can also fight the other the Dragon Rider. No, the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, you can.
As well. But anyway, he's got the interesting thing where his arena can get bigger or smaller. He's got that really big um, pole arm, so a lot of his attacks you have to dodge roll through. You can't just walk away from,
Uh,
especially because of the small arena. But I think that his attacks are slow enough where it's good because it really teaches you how to roll and how to time rolls early on. Um,
if you
I
pull
don't
all
mind
the
this fight.
switches, though, you can just shield and walk away from him, and
You
he's
can.
kind of free. But if you don't pull all the switches, you can just roll through his stuff. And I'm pretty sure you can knock him off, can't you?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. There's a speedrun tactic is he actually I think there's a way you can get him to run off himself or something, or it's really easy to get him to get pushed off. There's a lot of ways you can tackle this fight. I think that it's not particularly difficult, but because of all the different options that you can do to take this fight, we can make the arena small and try to push him off. You can make it big. He's good for the place in the game where he's at.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think he's as good as the Pursuer or the Last Giant are, but I would say he's a solid B tier boss, like a low B tier.
I think he's a little weird, though, actually. I think he's, like, kind of opposite Pinwheel. Because I think Pinwheel's an easy boss at the end of a reasonably difficult area, at least for an area you can go to as the first area in the game, which this is also that. Like, it's like the first area you can go to in a game, and it's reasonably difficult. I mean, more so than the Forest of Giants, anyway. But then the boss is, like, kind of pathetic. He's not hard, anyway.
You saying that Dragon Dragon Rider is kind of hard or kind of easy?
Oh, I guess technically I'm saying it's, like, kind of the same.
You're saying it's the same as Pinwheel. I
Yeah, it's
don't think
kind
that
of
you
the same.
remember how easy Pinwheel is. Pinwheel is dramatically
No,
easy.
I know
And
it's easy.
the area that you need to get through to get to Dragon Rider early is very difficult, but it's nowhere near as difficult as the catacombs are without
That's true.
like a blessed weapon.
No, that's true.
I
That's
would
true.
I would say that that's an interesting comparison. And it really does highlight that Dragon Rider is significantly better than Pinwheel.
Yeah, actually. Like, I was like, thinking myself in a circle, but you've untied my brain knot and have realized that Dragon Rider is just a far superior Pinwheel.
I would actually maybe not put him at B tier. I was thinking more C.
Uh,
He's like a solid like
I'd put him in
middle of
C.
the road.
Put him like
He's like he's
here,
honestly like the most middle of the road boss in the entire
maybe
series.
here. I don't know, above or below
I'd,
Taurus.
I'd put him above Taurus.
Yeah, he's
I
not that
like Taurus.
remarkable, but he's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Now take that same boss, add an
Dragon
S to the
Riders.
name. Oh boy, this
Now
sure is a
there's two
fight.
of them. Except I think the worst thing about Dragon Riders is that you fight them a reasonably, like, quite a bit further down the line. I mean, you could fight them earlier, but like,
So here's the comparison I'd like to make. And in Dark Souls, in Dark Souls 1, you could fight Pinwheel early, and then he'd show up multiple times in the Tomb of the Giants as just an enemy.
yeah,
Um, which is pretty late into the game.
uh-huh.
And in Dark Souls 2, this starter boss shows up later on, not as just another normal enemy, but actually, well, he actually does because he shows up in Shrine of Amana. But he also shows up as a boss fight of just fighting two of them, and it's one of the most pathetic boss fights because at this point you've gone through so much to get to this. You have to fight.
Yeah,
You have to get 4
each
great
individual
souls.
one is literally only about as strong as the first one, and you're
Yeah.
quite a bit stronger at this point,
Well,
so
and they would be a bit more difficult if it wasn't for the fact that they also start out where one's shooting down at you with a bow,
yeah.
and the one that's shooting down at the bow barely attacks you, and then the other one is just like a normal dragon rider.
Mhm.
I think that it could have been a cool fight if they put it significantly earlier in the game.
Yeah.
Like if it had been like in the middle of the game somewhere, I would say okay, maybe I could understand what they're going for. But the position of this fight in the game is it's like 2/3 of the way through the game, and it should be like 1/3 of the way through the game.
Yeah. I mean,
To
if
like
you
mark.
fought Dragon Riders after you say you went through the Blue Sentinel Covenant area and then you went a little further and then there was Dragon Riders there, or after Dragon Rider, you did that area a little bit and then there was Dragon Riders there. Of course, these would be higher level areas because that's kind of how Dark Souls 2 works, but I think they would be better placed there either way.
Yeah. Um, I will say this. I think it's trying to do the same thing that Stray Demon did in Dark Souls 1, where it shows you how much you've progressed.
Mhm.
But the problem is most people don't even fight Dragon Rider super early.
Yeah.
It's like a maybe first, I don't know, it's maybe like the fourth or fifth boss they've killed. It's not like the very first one. And then Dragon Riders is not far enough to the end of the game or enough of a difficulty and jump in difficulty for it to be. It's too much like the first one, and it's not in a good
Yeah.
way.
It's
This
like
is a very
mega
lazy boss
free.
fight.
I'd put him
Um,
like
Bro, they're
here.
better than Capra Demon. They're better than Gaping. Come on.
Bro, they're basically, in a way, they're basically gaping. I mean, they're free AF, dude. And at least gaping is a cool design.
I guess. All right, fine. You can put him there. I'm not gonna stick my neck out for Dragon Riders. This is a pretty bad boss fight.
The last giant. Look, guys, his Yorm's cousin.
If
Bruh.
Worm was a sad cripple who couldn't move and ripped off his own arm, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Bro, this boss fight is just sad. Like, you walk up to it, you're like, oh, it's a boss. Wow, I can't wait to get my Dark Souls 2 chops in order. I'm gonna fight this guy. It's gonna be epic. And he kind of just, like, kills himself. And then you just feel bad.
Yeah, this fight is very slow, very awkward, and isn't very difficult at all. It's not very remarkable. It's not training you that much because it's not like something that you fight before you fight everything else, like
No.
Asylum Demon was one. Pursuer is something you could fight before this thing. I mean, and
Yeah.
Pursuer is like a good fight. This is just sad. I think there's lore reasons why it's a little interesting, but honestly, it doesn't save it from being.
Yeah, it has some alright lore. But I think Pursuer's definitely a better, like, teaches you about Dark Souls 2 boss than this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I would put this maybe like high D. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like
Maybe not even high D.
below Pinwheel, I guess. I like him more than the bosses below him, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, okay, I'd agree with that.
Duke's Dear Freya. Bro, this is a lame ass boss.
I have a lot of mixed feelings on this boss. I like the idea of a boss where it's more like a Zelda boss where there's a weak spot you have to hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's got like a very telegraphed but very powerful attacks. It feels more like a traditional like Zelda fight instead of like an actual like Dark Souls boss. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. What is a bad thing is the fact that this boss starts with a bunch of spiders in the room that you have to kill.
Yeah.
And then just yeah, it's just it'd be like a much better boss if they balanced around it just fighting it and not having to deal with.
Admittedly, though, this boss, and weirdly, I feel like a lot of Dark Souls 2 bosses are like this. I think if you do this boss in co-op, it's like kind of cool. Because, like, you could stand at either side of his faces, right?
Yeah.
And you could, like, play it that way, and it's, like, kind of neat then. It's, like, kind of fun.
That is a big thing. I think there are... I will bring this up, especially with the Grave Tender fight. But there are certain fights in this game that I think don't work single player and were made for multiplayer. Like, just made for being, like, a co-op fight. I don't know if this one needs to be a co-op fight. I think it's still kind of decent as a one-on-one fight. I like the fact that you can kill one of the heads and it'll roll around like a soccer ball. That's pretty good. Its design, I don't like the invulnerability on the legs just because a lot of the time they'll block the hits on the head even though you're aiming for the head. It's not like you're trying to hit the legs, it's just to get in the way, which is a little annoying. It's not just that like you're not trying to hit those areas, that they block what you're trying to hit. I don't know. I would say that this boss fight has a lot of interesting ideas with the weak points, with the laser beams.
Yeah.
With just the size and like the way it feels.
I'm thinking.
But also, it's a little sloppy. I'm thinking like
probably bottom of C.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Demon of Song. Is this even a boss fight, bro?
This is kind of like a regression on Duke's Dear Freya. Like
Yeah.
It's the weak point thing, but without the interesting other bits that make it work. So it kind of just takes a really long time. And other than that, it's not really
It's
challenging at all. It's got that
slow,
one. It's
and
got
it's
that one
really
project.
easy.
It's got that one projectile attack and that one charge that are kind of hard to read, and everything else is just a cakewalk on it. And even if you manage to get clipped by those, unless if you're in like if you've bonfire set it to like 4 times because you're trying to harvest crystal homing soul mass,
Yeah.
you just heal up and then you continue fighting. It is not that difficult,
No.
not that interesting, kind of horrifying looking. But
Yeah, he's really
I don't
ugly.
I don't really care for the lore. I don't really care for the design of the boss. I don't really care for the fight. I don't know. I'd give it like a D tier. One of the lower D tiers even.
Let's see. Probably like here, I
It's
guess.
Gwendolyn's better than Demon of Song. I
Yeah,
think.
but I would consider Gwendolyn a bit more of a gimmick fight than Demon. I mean, maybe not. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the lore, and
The
everything
lore's a
for
lot better. That's true. The lore's a lot better. Here, maybe?
sure.
Like,
I just he doesn't feel right over Gwendolyn. You can put it beneath the Gwendolyn, but I don't think they should.
yeah, I mean, I guess at least Gwendolyn's like, if you didn't play the game, you'd think, oh, Gwendolyn's cool. Like, if you didn't play Dark Souls 2, you would not think the Demon of Song is cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, here's one.
this is a cool fight.
I think this fight is excellent. I think this is one of the best fights in the base game of Dark Souls 2. Um, it it works really well as a single player fight, as a really difficult challenge.
mhm.
It also works really cool. It's a really cool fight, 2v2, because then it's like you both pair off, and then you have to keep an eye on each other. And it's I did this fight with Saljay, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I've also done it solo before, and it's much more difficult. You're managing both of them, but it is doable. I think it's a better gank fight than Ornstein and Smo. It's a little more awkward
Yeah.
because there's not the thing to space them out, but I think that the difference, because they're so much closer in size but not exactly the same size, and they don't have exactly the same movement.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I like it more.
No, I kind of feel the same way, actually.
It doesn't feel like you're cheesing the fight as much as you do with Ornstein and Smo, where it's like, oh, you just separate them by pillars and then you just fight one-on-one for a little bit and then back off like you do in Ornstein and Smo. This is like you are fighting two at once. It's just very different. I would give this at least an A.
Yeah.
Probably an A.
I might put it in A. We'll see. We'll see where the A is looking.
I'd put it above Burnt Ivory King for sure. Would I put it above Pursuer?
I don't know if I would put it above Burnt Ivory. I don't know. Just because, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, the world feel and aesthetic and, like, game world lore shit of the Throne Guardians is pretty good. But Burnt Ivory King, like, you're fighting in, like, the chaos, you know?
You're right. Yeah, no, you can leave it there. I think that's a good spot for it. It's right next to Ornstein and Smo, which is about where it should be. Yeah. It's just a bit better than it.
I think so too. Granted, when I played
have the cool thing of Ornstein and Smo, where you get the enhanced one-on-one, which is like the cool part about Ornstein and Smo. But everything else about it, I think, is better than Ornstein and Smo.
I agree. But, you know, once again, I have not played Dark Souls 2 solo since it came out, and even then I didn't beat the game, so... my opinions may be, wrong, but, you know, they exist. Covetous Demon. Straight up, I remember fighting this guy in the DLC area, and I forgot that you fought him before that.
Yeah, this is a very...
This boss is so free, dude.
Silly boss fight. This fight feels like it should have been the first fight you do in the game.
It did.
An intro fight.
It did. He literally just like rolls over on me.
It would be bad if it was that. I don't like this fight.
I don't either, bro. I'm just gonna
it's
preemptively
incredibly forgettable. There's like a thing you can do where you can like shoot down the pots in the room and then he'll like go eat them and you can like wail on him for free. But
but you don't even need to do that because he's so easy
to fight him. Yeah. I honestly, I think that I think that Covetous Demon and Capra Demon should be moved down to like F tier.
It's just, look, for me, I look at the bosses in F tier and I'm just mad. All right, I look at Capra Demon and Covetous Demon and I'm like, they're just bad. It's not it's not the same emotion.
I think that it's not the same emotion, but they're all really like. I want you to answer this. Is the gap between Covetous Demon and Ancient Dragon bigger than the gap between like Capra Demon and Dragon Riders? Capra Demon is so bad compared to Dragon Riders. Dragon
Okay.
Riders is forgettable.
All right, look.
Capra Demon is like actively bad.
I think the gap between Covetous Demon and Ancient Dragon is a lot closer than the gap between Covetous Demon and Dragon Riders. But I think Capra Demon's still somewhere in that middle area.
I would say this. I would say anything in F tier would be the game is better if it wasn't in there. And I would put those two in that.
Okay. If that's the case, I'd put Dragon Riders in there.
I don't think Dragon Riders are necessarily an active detriment to the game. They're kind of just like a filler fight.
I guess, but I'd say Covetous Demon is just a filler fight as well. Capra Demon is maybe an active detriment to the game.
I would almost put Capra Demon below Covetous. Covetous is just a mega filler fight, even more than Dragon Riders is by like even a large margin. Capra Demon is actively bad for the game. Anyway, we should move on.
I'll do that then.
Oh boy. Oh boy, the next one.
This boss is so insane, dude.
I got some words to speak about this. Single player, this might be the worst experience I've had in any Dark Souls game. This fight, single player, is literally insane. The only way I managed to beat it in my single player playthrough of it the first time around was I had to do dodge a great arrow shot, parry one of them, turn around and parry the other one before riposting the first one. Because if I didn't do that, then one of them would bleed me by swinging at me as I'm in my riposte animation. It's a fight where it's really, really insane and just way too much offense right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
And basically all of their bases are covered. No matter who you try to focus, you're losing. Yeah. Because if you rush the back, then the two of them are going to collapse on you. If you try to deal with the big tanky guy, then when you're riposting or do whatever, you're going to get caught out and bled. And if you try to fight the other one, the bleed guy, then the big guy, if you manage to ever mess up, you're going to get hit by a stray like a dragon fang hit or a great arrow, and it'll like half you. It's all bad. This fight is honestly miserable. Now, you might be thinking, oh, we should stick it in F tier. But I was opened up to the fact that this boss fight is placed in a place where it's supposed to be a boss fight you summon with. And if you play this with a friend, this fight becomes a lot more fun. I wouldn't still put it as a good fight, but it becomes very entertaining. I would actually... Yeah. I would say with a friend, I would say this fight is actually one of the better fights to do with a friend. But overall, it's still a bad fight, but it is significantly raised by it being a lot more fun to do co-op, because there's a lot more threat management then that's reasonable to do, where you can send one person off to deal with one-on-one with one of the people, and then the other one person's holding off two people, and then you can trade back and forth. The arena's really annoying one-on-one, but one on three, but on 2-on-3 it is strategically designed so that you can bottleneck and choke some of them out, so you can have one person take one of them on early as the other person tries to kite around the other two. It's yeah, I really like this fight.
Yeah, I can say at least for co-oping this fight, because that's what we did. Yeah. It still is hard. It's still like plenty hard, and we still had to strategize a decent amount to take them out, right? Like, it'd be one person having to, like, 1v2 and dodge and parry and stuff while the other person, like, tried to split someone off into 1v1s. And then you still can fall down into the pits and still get slowed down and still get cornered. So, yeah. It's not even that easy in co-op, but I do think that it's kind of fun. It's a little fun.
Now, on the other hand, I don't think any boss fight should be balanced around it being good in co-op and terrible single player.
No, I don't think so either.
And for that, I still think it deserves a D. But with the caveat that if you play it multiplayer, fight's actually kind of fun.
I'll put it in D.
But
I'll put it like here though.
sure.
Like he's got something going.
Oh boy, King Vendrick.
Bro. 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 This is. I have no qualms putting this boss in F tier, dude.
King Vendrick is not an F tier boss.
He is an F tier boss. This boss is just invincible 90% of the game, and then when he's not invincible, he just one-shots you, and he's still a bad fight. This boss sucks. This boss is hot doo-doo water, bro.
He's not an F tier fight. Lore, okay, think about it this way. Lore-wise, he's the equivalent of Gwyn in Dark Souls 1. His fight is a huge downgrade, but I appreciate what they're trying to do with it, where they're trying to show how, like, even though he's this husk, he's still this invincible, like, untouchable figure until you complete this quest to gather all the giant souls. And that's really interesting. And
yeah, getting the giant souls is interesting. Like completing the quest.
When you first get to him, and you're expecting this big, glorious figure who's you've been hearing about the entire game. You know, the war with the giants and everything. They built this giant castle, and then you get there, and he's just this hollow, just walking around in circles, doesn't even register you. It's a very effective moment.
I agree. I mean, it's a cool lore moment, I guess, but the fight is like Bed of Chaos is a cool lore character.
And by the nature of the fact that he's supposed to be this like hollow, basically, he really couldn't have that crazy moveset that like Gwyn had or any of the DLC kings have, because he's supposed to be like hollowed. He's supposed to be like, so he should be just an incredibly strong but simple moveset. Unfortunately, it's just not that good.
It's too simple and too strong. Literally, it's just he does nothing essentially, and then he twitches his arm and you die.
Yeah, if you ever get caught, he does an immense amount of damage. I think that this boss fight would have been better if they toned down the damage or gave him something a little bit more. They could have made him like an angry, mindless zombie instead of just.
I would have been okay with like a hollow, sad like thing. You have to collect all the souls and then you can actually fight him. But like they needed to give him a real moveset and reduce his damage. Like this boss isn't fun.
Yeah. I don't think that he's deserving of F tier.
Come on, bro.
You can put him wherever you want.
He's literally just like Ancient Dragon.
No, not even close.
Except you can hit him more often than
you can hit him during the entire fight, and he doesn't just spam a move where it's just the same exact move. He does use a couple of different strings. It's very basic and it's very telegraphed, but he's not the worst fight in the game by a long shot.
You're right. Ancient Dragon is worse.
Alright. I would put him above Demon of Song even. I don't think I'd put him much higher than that, but I would put him above Demon of Song. He's a little bit of a letdown because he's being compared to Gwyn.
I'll do you this favor.
Thank you. I don't think he's a great fight. I just think that he's got some things that are worth preserving and cool ideas.
Yeah.
Dark Lurker.
Dark Lurker's neat. You kind of can't fight them. Like, yeah, just straight up.
A lot of people don't bother ever fighting Dark Lurker because it's really annoying to do all the Covenant stuff. Well, it's not even that annoying. I don't think it's that bad. It's kind of annoying. It's out of your way. Most people don't end up doing it because it doesn't feel like it's part of the main game because they don't want to mess around with Covenant stuff. But it's really just a bunch of like extra PvE, like mini dungeons essentially. I actually like Dark Lurker a lot. I think it's a really cool fight. It's pretty. I think so too. It's neat. It's a lot like a proto Pontiff in a lot of ways, except more like a mage rather than like a swords user. But like, it's just at first it's kind of difficult and he's kind of aggressive, and then he goes into phase 2 where he splits into 2 and he's a little bit less aggressive but there's 2 of them now. and it's getting out of hand because now there are two of them. So yeah, I think it's a tried but true method where you basically double the stakes. Hollow Knight did it with Mantis Lords. Dark Souls 1 did it with Pinwheel, kind of. Um, yeah, Dark Souls 2 does it with Dark Lurker. Dark Souls 3 does it with Pontiff, and I think it's a good mechanic because it really does show the cracks in the fight. Like if the fight holds up and there's two of them, it means that it's a good fight. I think generally.
Yeah. No,
I would
I think Dark
I would
Lurker is a
actually
good fight.
rate Dark Lurker as like an A tier fight, personally. Like
I would probably put it here for me, but I don't know. I might move it up.
Fair enough. You can keep it there. I'm not that stressed about it. I think Iron Golem is also really good too, so maybe it's just the fact that I like Mantis Iron Golem as well, but I'm looking at this area in B tier and I like the things it's next to.
Yeah. Well, I think pretty much B tier only has good bosses in it, alright? I'm just not that guy who's gonna be like, oh, if it's good, it's an S tier, and if it's bad, it's an F, so.
No, yeah, I am reasonable, yeah. I'm surprised you even let me put Sanctuary Guardian as high as I put it.
Look, I think that is a shitter boss, but, you know, sometimes he makes sacrifices. Looking Glass Knight, alright. Alright, I'm gonna preemptively rate this one, and you can let me know if you agree with my placement.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Alright, cool.
That's about where I'd put it. Looking Glass Knight is one of my favorite fights in the base game of Dark Souls 2. I've said that like 3 times now, but
yeah,
I mean
dude.
it. I do mean
I
it.
mean it this time,
This
I swear.
I mean it every time, but like this is probably my favorite fight in the base game of Dark Souls 2. I can't think of anything I like.
It probably is mine. Looking Glass Knight.
The aesthetic
So
of the area is
cool.
awesome with the storm going on.
Yeah, dude. The zone is cool. The fight's
the design
cool.
of him. He's like this like pearly white armor with like he's got the footy, you know.
Yeah, you can like see yourself in him. That's why he's like the Looking Glass Knight. His shield is so shiny. You like see yourself, but then it's not you. There's like another guy. And he comes out and hits you.
Did you know? Did you know? I didn't know this, but apparently if you're that can be a player.
Can it?
Yeah.
It can be a player?
Yeah.
Oh,
isn't that awesome?
Yo, that's so cool.
Yeah, right? Like everything about that fight is just very awesome. He has like the lightning streams that he comes out of his sword. He like catches the lightning with his sword and then he does a spin attack and it like blasts out. He's also, I think the thing that the Looking Glass Knight doesn't get enough credit for is the fact that he is a slow but still very difficult boss fight.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you get to a heavily armored boss like a humanoid boss like that size, it's very fast, and that's a good thing. I like fast boss fights, but it's really hard to make a slow fight still disengaging. And they managed to do it last night by making his moves humongous and having him have a shield that actually is like a shield that you have to fight around and try to position around because it'll block stuff if you're hitting into it.
True.
Like it's a decently good challenge. I think it's a quality fight. I love that fight.
Yeah, me too.
I could gush about it more, but like I'm not going to be providing any more important stuff. We both agree it's really good.
Prowling Magus and the Congregation. I didn't even remember about this boss fight, and then I checked and I was like, oh yeah, it's like those 4 guys in a room that you one-shot and move on.
It's like more than 4 guys. It's like there's like 1 guy and then there's like 2 spellcast. There's like 1 big spellcaster and then 2 slightly smaller spellcasters, and then there's a bunch of like bodies on the floor or something. But like a bunch of hollows. It's like epitome of like filler boss fight. It's really just if that fight didn't have a health bar, I would pretty much just think of it as like another room with enemies in it.
Yeah.
Maybe I would be like, oh, this one NPC has a decent amount of health. That's kind of weird, but I wouldn't really think that much about it. Definitely not. I think this is probably one of the fights that is least deserving of a
I think this is probably the worst fight in Dark Souls 2, bro.
Worst fight?
Well, okay. Ancient Dragon's like the
Easiest.
worst fight, but like this fight's not a fight.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's just filler. It really isn't much. I can appreciate like a mass battle, but Deacons of the Deep does what this fight tries to do so much better.
Yeah.
Just so much better. Deacons of the
And
Deep,
I don't
like,
even
feels...
like Deacons of the Deep, and I think it's just this fight, but way better.
Yeah.
And then there's Half-Light, which is just this fight. Just Deacons, but really cool. So,
Half-Light's kind of different, but
yeah, I guess. Anyway, this fight, it sucks.
you can put it next to Gaping Dragon. It's a
I'm
filler
gonna put
fight.
it here, bro.
How are you gonna put this? Whatever.
This fight's way more filler than even Covet. There's a point of filler that it's so filler that like it's just like, all right.
Yeah, but Capra Demon is actually detrimental to the game, and these guys aren't. I think they're just so forgettable. Capra Demon is like, you remember Capra Demon because of the negative feelings you have about it. You just forget about these guys, and I'd rather forget about and bosses and them being actively bad. Except for the fact that I like to talk about certain bosses being actively bad, so... But playing through it...
Look, I think Capra Demon's bad, but I think on repeat playthroughs, he's still not a good fight, but he's not, like, actively detrimental to your playthrough like Ceaseless or Bed of Chaos or Ancient Dragon is.
Yeah, but neither is Prowling Magus. You could put Prowling Magus below Capra.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
Are you still
Whatever.
there?
You can keep...
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cutting out a little bit. It's okay.
The Rotten.
Man, I wish the Rotten was cooler than it is.
Bruh.
It's got like the arena, and it looks pretty menacing, and then it's
The
got
run
like
back,
super
dude.
simple moves and like the worst run back. And man, I think that the Rotten is like heavy bottom of C tier. Like, there's not anything there. It's just like swing, and then phase 2 has like the like explosion attack, and that's pretty much it.
I think I like Nito more than the Rotten.
Yeah, but I think Nito should be C tier as well.
Alright, maybe. I'll do this then. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable to me. I think that's reasonable.
Royal Rat Vanguard. This is kind of another Prowling Magus thing, except this one's funny, so I like it more.
I'm gonna be honest, this is definitely more of a filler fight than Prowling Magus is. At least those are like unique enemies.
Yeah,
Royal
but
Rat Vanguard
the
is literally
rat
just
with a
dude
mohawk
rat.
is a unique enemy, okay? He
It's
has a
not even,
mohawk,
its moves,
bro.
its moves are the exact same. It just has a higher health pool and a mohawk.
Yeah, dude, what a sick enemy.
My guy.
It's a rat with a mohawk, bro. That's the epitome of cool. All right, he's so cool.
If you think that the idea of a puzzle boss where you have to figure out what the boss actually is before you kill it is cool, I guess, but I just don't see it, man.
I
would rather
don't
fight
think it's
through,
cool. I just think it's funny. Because most of the time, you don't even have to figure out the puzzle. You just kill all the rats in one hit, and then you win.
But there's an infinite number of rats if you kill all the rats. Like,
well, yeah, but you'll hit the right one eventually. Like, it's not like it
I would
goes out of its way to live.
I would put this at the bottom of D tier as well. This is another filler fight that
I'm putting him above
really
Dragon Riders because I think the rat with the mohawk is funny. And that's pretty much it. Nashandra is a really cool fight that you fight way too late in the game. So you literally kill her in 2 hits.
Nashandra is visually cool. Much the only scary thing about her are the curse orbs in the room that drain your health.
That you could just walk away from because the freaking boss arena is not big enough. You're cutting out a little bit.
Just walk away from him, and she doesn't say a thing.
All right, there you are. Hey,
Yeah, sorry.
it's okay.
Yeah, there's not much to say about Nashandra. They're kind of a letdown. I like their design, but that's about it.
I think they're
Uh,
design-wise. I think they're just like cooler Nito. I think
yeah, pretty
their
much.
attacks are kind of like a little cooler than Nito, and you don't get mobbed by skeletons. She's really easy though. I mean, to
And
be fair, I
they're
think
like
if you
big C tier energy, in my opinion.
yeah, I'm gonna put her right here, just cause I
Yeah,
don't know. That's my feelings.
I agree. I think that's a pretty good spot for them.
Sin, I think, is actually really cool and a really good boss fight.
Sin is the first, like, a really good dragon fight in Dark Souls, in my opinion. They didn't do very good with the ancient dragon. They, the Calamite was kind of cool, but had some stumbling points. I think Sin is just really good.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of just
Um,
quality.
I he does do flying around, but he lands pretty quickly, and he like he zones. He's got a huge arena, but he actually uses it because there's a bunch of areas that will get filled with poison smog.
Yeah,
Visually, he's really cool. He's this freaking dragon with a giant spear through his chest. Um, there's not a lot to complain. It's a really good dragon fight. He's a bit small for a dragon, you could
yeah.
argue, but
Also, getting
I
poisoned sucks, but you if you're playing this boss fight right, you probably won't get poisoned. He's not like
well,
bullshit.
yeah. And it's not like Dark Souls 2 has like Dark Souls 2 has the strongest poison out of any in the series, but also um it has a bunch of extra healing items. So if your health is getting drained too much by the thing and you don't want to use up all your Estus, you can still pop life gems to deal with the poison.
Yeah,
Or
Radiant
just
Life
heal the
Gem
poison.
pretty much just
There's a
cancels
lot
out
of
poison.
yeah, there's a lot of ways to manage it. So I think this is one of my I would honestly put this as like the lowest tier S fight.
Really? I
Yeah.
like Sin
I
a
think
lot, but do I like Sin more than like Looking
do you
Glass?
like him more than Looking Glass Knight?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I don't know, man.
I think he's definitely better than Sif and definitely better than
I
Asylum
think he's better than
Demon.
Sif. I think
I
just
think
because of what Asylum Demon does, though, I respect him.
I respect Asylum Demon too, but I still think that the capstone bosses are more um like having a good intro boss is very important, but having a good capstone boss is also very important. And I think Sin does a really good job of being a good capstone boss of the area.
Yeah. Oh, he is the
But
capstone boss of that area, isn't he?
yep,
I forgot. Honestly, like I'm thinking about it. I think I like him more than I don't think I'm gonna put him in S tier just because
fair enough.
I'm reserving it. All right, the
Okay.
VIPs only, but I do like Sin a
We can
lot.
shift people up and down tiers maybe if we change our mind or something. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Guardian Dragon.
This isn't a fight. This isn't you fight this at the very first area of the or the second area of the game, depending on where you are in the game. This isn't a fight.
No.
This is a mini boss in the first area of the game, and then you go through like half of the game, and then you fight him again.
Yeah,
I should mention we're talking about Scholar of the First Sin, which
true.
not everyone is talking about that, but Scholar of the First Sin, the Guardian Dragon, is literally in front of the area to fight the Dragon Slayer,
Yeah.
old Dragon Slayer. So
And then you fight
this
him
fight is just,
again way later, and it's just him.
and then immediately after you fight a bunch of copies of him too. So this fight just shouldn't be in the game where it's at.
It's weird that it has a boss health bar.
It is, but I think they just ran out of bosses to put, and they needed one at the end of the area. I don't know.
Anyway, this one's not
I
funny
actually,
like Royal Rat Vanguard though, so
I actually kind of like it. Despite that, it's way too easy, so it's definitely D tier. But like, it's a cool D tier boss fight. Like, let's be real. Like, would you rather fight Last Giant or Guardian Dragon again?
I don't know. To me, they were probably about the same. Right?
Yeah, but you've put Guardian Dragon at the bottom of D tier, and Last Right's third from the top.
Bro, you're making good points. This is actual. To be
Like,
fair, this is an actual fight on like Gaping, Moonlight, Demon of Song, Vendrick.
yeah,
Getting ganked by 3 guys, Gwendolyn. He's not. I mean, he is kind of just a lame copy like Fire Sage actually. So I'll just put him like
sure, that's more reasonable.
here.
I wouldn't put him. Yeah, that's a lot more reasonable of a position to put him. I wouldn't have put him where you'd put him before.
Well, he's there now.
Yeah.
Velstadt is pretty cool. He's
I
not
think Velstat's
very
a really good
hard, especially because later you just fight someone who makes Velstats, but I don't
well,
know.
his second phase where he does the dark magic is a decent bit harder. But
That's
I think
true.
when we were playing through, you didn't get to experience it as long because we DPS rushed them down a lot.
Yeah,
I think at that point in the game was when we were the strongest compared to the enemies we were fighting.
probably.
So, you might have not gotten the full experience of Velstadt. Velstadt's pretty decent challenge though. I would say he's a solid B tier boss. Like high B tier even. He's not like an amazing boss. Like he's not something that particularly sticks out in your memory. But I'm never like, oh, I'm always thinking. I think Velstadt's like a quality boss. He's just like,
Yeah.
everything about him is above average, but nothing about him particularly sticks out.
No,
As
actually,
incredibly
I think
good.
that's a good place to put him because it's not a boss you just go, gotta fight Velstadt now. You know, it's always like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
Velstadt.
Yeah. He's like a boss you don't really remember or think about much, but when you fight him, you're like, oh yeah, this fight's pretty good, huh? He's got. I like his design. He's got that big old bell hammer, like that's pretty cool.
True.
He's got kind of a small arena, so it's kind of forgettable of an arena. His design's not particularly memorable, but also not particularly like basic either. It's just kind of like a design. He's got like the poncho, which is kind of cool, but other than that, I don't know. There's not much going on. Yeah, I think everything about him is like a solid B plus. So I'll put him at B. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna move him up though. I'm looking at his competition. It's fierce, except for Sanctuary Guardian. Mytha.
Mytha. Okay, so you never experienced Mytha with the poison. That fight is a lot more annoying with the poison because the poison heals them. So it becomes like a DPS check. So they have to have a low amount of HP to make it reasonable for a player to do if they didn't realize that they can lower the poison.
All right, I'm back again.
So I keep on looking at stuff on the Faster Life wiki during this video, and there's a little stream with if you pull up any of the Faster Life wiki, you'll see it. There's somebody who's streaming like the new zombie game that came out, but there's a little Elden Ring giveaway thing in the corner, and it's just a monkey sitting on top of the Elden Ring girl's head, just beating it. I just over and over. It's just a GIF, and I don't understand why it's in the corner of the screen at all times, but it's really quality. I don't. Sorry, it's very distracting. Anyway, it's hypnotic in some ways. Anyway,
can you like stop the poison from Mytha?
Yeah, that's setting fire to the
Oh right,
to
right.
the windmill
things.
does that. Yeah. We there was poison in the boss room, but it's not like completely filled with poison the way it normally is. Mytha is pretty much if the poison is lowered, if you stop the windmill, then pretty much the only threat from Mytha is getting one shot by her head when she throws it.
Yeah.
Other than that, she's just kind of she would be a decent bit harder if she just had more health. Didn't regenerate in the poison, and then you know, yeah, and then because her spear attack's actually a pretty long range, and she's kind of mobile, and it's a pretty small arena to fight her in, so it's a little cramped. So
yeah, I almost died
kind
to
of
this
always
boss.
in her range.
She's pretty aggressive,
but she's just a little. She dies really quickly, so.
Yeah, she throws her head on the ground. You dodge the instant kill. You can just whack it and like do her entire health.
I'd say this is big C tier energy, just kind of like a boss fight.
It is a boss fight.
And so it's got a little bit more going for it than most of like the gimmick or filler boss fights in D tier, but it's not much more than just like a standard boss fight.
What do you think? Above or below?
I would put them. I'd put them above Nito, I think, but below Nashandra.
Fume Knight, baby, Fume Knight, hell yeah, Fume Knight. All right, this is my first Dark Souls 2 S tier.
Fume Knight is a very good fight. um,
He's so cool.
It's very cool. It's very challenging, but it feels fair. Like, unlike there's a lot of hitboxes and things in Dark Souls 2 where you think you dodged it, but you still got hit, and you're like, well, that's BS or whatever, because you didn't level adaptation. But Fume Knight, I don't think there's very little things that Fume Knight does that you don't get punished for being greedy and trying to get a hit in extra that you shouldn't have. Like, if you're playing perfectly, Fume Knight will never hit you, and if you're not, you're gonna get annihilated because Fume Knight will punish any mistake you make by a large amount, but it's always your fault.
Yeah, I mean, Fume Knight's still a Dark Souls 2 boss, right? If you don't level adaptability, he will still hit you with stuff. But for some reason, when he hits you with stuff, you're like, oh yeah, that probably should have hit me. Like, it's just cool. All right, it's a good fight.
And he's got the small sword and the big sword. You've got to like keep an eye on both sides. He's got a very cool boss arena and like line up to the boss because you've been descending the entire time to the bottom of the flame tower.
Yeah.
And his phase 2, he drops the little sword, and then he gets the giant like dark flame pyro sword. It's just really cool.
The Fume Knight Ultra Great Sword, baby. Let's go.
It is not like a lot of the Dark Souls 3 fights. I still think Artorias is more of the prototype to those than Fume Knight is.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It is good in its own ways, in its own strengths for Dark Souls 2.
No, I think that Fume Knight, like, a lot of people like to shit on Dark Souls 2 for mechanics, but I think Fume Knight edges out Dark Souls 2 mechanics perfectly. Like, I think he really just is the epitome of what is good about Dark Souls 2 gameplay as opposed to what isn't.
Yep.
And I don't know, he's cool. Like, it's hard to say it enough times. Like, eventually you're just cool enough to be an S tier, right? It's the cool kids club.
Yeah, so far, man, we got Gwyn, Fume Knight, and Knight Artorias. There's a bunch of dudes with you know,
big swords, dude.
Yeah. It's hey, man.
It's what it's about.
Yeah.
Elana.
Elana is a fight that feels terrible when you're fighting it, but once you beat it, you feel so achieved.
It is kind of weird.
Because I think that fight is like, it's really annoying and you feel like, oh, I didn't see that. That was BS. I got hit by something blindsided. How was I supposed to see that? But once you figure out how you're supposed to position the camera, stay unlocked while keeping an eye on Elana while also fighting the Velstadt at the same time or whatever.
Elana's a weird middle ground of like Dark Souls boss fights. Because there's the Dark Souls boss fights to where when you lose, you're angry, right? And then when you win, you're glad it's over. And then there's the boss fights to where when you lose, you're like, I can do better. And then when you win, you're like, that was awesome. Yeah. And Elana's like a weird middle ground to where when you lose, you're angry. And when you win, you're like, that was awesome.
Yeah. No, it is. It definitely is. It's hard to balance bosses that summon things. It's just inherently really hard to balance that because they have to still be threatening without their summons.
Yeah.
And still be summoning threatening with their summons. And especially something in Elana where you can either summon like a terrible skeleton that you can kill in like 2 hits, or you can summon literally Velstadt, one of like the mid to late game bosses.
Yeah.
Insane that they would put that in. Might I add? Like insane that you'd think they might summon like a Dragon Rider or something, but no. Like one of the later game, like one of the pretty late game bosses in the base game is something that Elana just summons, and you have to fight with her.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. She's pretty scary. On the other hand,
because it's such a challenge, and because once you figure out how to do it, and like the execution of it, you feel awesome after beating that boss. This is a boss that you will think that what I'm talking about, if you've never fought this boss before, you're gonna think that this boss is terrible when you're fighting it. I think you're gonna think this boss is horribly designed, um, and then eventually it's gonna click with you, and you're gonna beat it, and you're gonna go, actually, that boss was really cool. I think this is like a B tier boss.
Yeah, I would put it in B tier. Like, it definitely has shortcomings, but alright. I think definitively it's better than Velstadt.
Because it has Velstadt in it, basically.
I would put it above Calum. I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like. What can I say? It's a cool boss. It
Yeah.
feels like bullshit when you're fighting it, but then somehow when you beat it, you're like, I beat the bullshit with my skill. It's a weird feeling,
A little bit,
but
yeah.
it's good. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Ruin Sentinels? Okay. I've heard from a lot of people they think this is a bad boss fight, it's a gang fight. They apparently it's hard, like it's bullshit, and they just beat the crap out of you with 3 guys. This is one of the few bosses in Dark Souls 2 that I have done solo, like, more than once. And I think this boss is really free.
I don't think this boss fight's easy at all. I think this,
This
boss
boss
fight's pretty
fight's
challenging.
so free every time I do it. Like, I kill the first one before the other 2 even get a chance to fight me. And then I just roll behind one of them, hit it, then roll behind the other one and hit it, and do that until they're both dead. And then it's like, alright. They don't, like, have any weird attacks. I mean, okay, they throw their shield,
Yeah,
but
they do. They've got the jump attack, they've got the shield throw, they've got
the shield
the
throw
spin.
will catch you off guard sometimes. I admit that for sure. But I don't think these guys are that bad. Although, once again, I don't think they're bad either for being not that bad. I think these are not as bad of a fight as people say.
I think that they are just kind of like a lame gank fight because there's no differences between them. And if you don't kill the one up top before you drop down, then it's just a 1v3 and you're already going to lose. And if it's a 1v2, you can take the fight and it's kind of challenging. But you just kind of have to wait for them to separate out. And they have that spin attack that can like gap close and is really scary early. I think that this fight is... It feels like they have to make the Ruined Sentinels less aggressive than they could be, so that it's a balanced fight to fight 3 of them instead of just making one more aggressive one that could be more entertaining to fight. Because the attacks that they actually pull out are pretty difficult to dodge. They've got big sweeps of areas they attack.
Yeah, but they don't attack that often.
They just don't attack that often, and it just feels like kind of weird that they just sit there and not attacking for a while. You can hit them. So I would say this is like a, I don't know, maybe low C tier.
I like this fight probably more than Duke's Dear Freya.
Okay, sure. That can be, like, I've got my strong feelings about it. 4 Kings, you can have the Rune Sentinels next to it. That makes sense. Like, it does things good, it does things bad.
Yeah.
I can see that. There are cool things about Rune Sentinels. I'm not gonna...
Oh, shit. Oh, never mind. I'm like, oh, are we done already with Dark Souls 2? I'm like...
Nope.
No, I just scrolled down
Dark
too
Souls
far.
2 has a lot more bosses than Dark Souls 1 or 3.
Lost Sinner. I still, you keep telling me that this boss exists, and I don't believe you.
I think this is one of the better bosses in the base game of Dark Souls 2.
I've heard that too. I've heard that this is actually a good boss. I'm like, how do I just completely not remember him?
You gotta look up like a video of it or something.
Sure, but for now, I'll just let you say your piece.
Sure, it's got the thing with the lighting. I honestly think the lighting thing is just a gimmick. I wish it just wasn't a thing. I like the idea behind it, but they should have made it like a bigger threat then, besides just having a decreased lock-on distance. The actual fight, it's just a, it's a dude with a great sword, but dudes with great swords who are kind of fast are entertaining fights generally. You have to like dodge their rolls effectively and position correctly. And it's a little gruesome. They got the centipede in the mask, and they've got like the hands are manacled together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's honestly, it feels like the first like proper I don't know. Actually, I was gonna say it's like the first proper duel in Dark Souls 2. Then I remember the Pursuer's a thing, and the Pursuer's just better than this.
Yeah.
I would just give it like I don't know. I'd put it next to Dragon Rider, I think. C tier. It's just kind of like a decent boss.
Okay.
It's a little forgettable. I won't lie. There are bosses that do what it does in its game much better, and there are bosses that are much worse in it. It's like the very baseline of like a one-on-one duel, I'd say. Besides the lighting thing, which isn't really much of a thing.
Scorpionus Nausicaa. I
Not
did
gonna lie,
not fight this boss without Manscorp, so
this fight's kind of lame. Pretty much it's just not that difficult because her like tail attacks leave her super open, hard to dodge, but they're still not too bad. And then she has her burrow move, which is almost impossible to do anything. You just kind of have to take the damage most of the time.
yeah, the burrow move's just annoying. She just burrows, and you're like, where does she come up?
And
Probably
she
right
burrows
under
for,
me,
like-
and then you
she
dodge,
burrows-
and then she just hits you. It's like, okay,
Just for like a long time
she
too.
does.
Yeah, and she bursts for like a long time too. Like she doesn't like give up. Yeah. I would say that this fight is pretty meh. Like there's not anything particularly wrong with it besides the burrow move's a little annoying. But
Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
think
do
the
much
fight's a
damage.
little bullshit, but like it's not like a fight where I'm like, oh, it's bad. You know, it's fine. I don't know, I'll probably put it like here.
I put it bottom of C tier, yeah. I think it's worse than the Rotten, but I think it's too competently put together to be a D tier boss.
Yeah, I think so too.
Skeleton Lords.
This is actually a cool fight.
I like this one. It's really interesting because each of the skeleton lords are kind of strong and kind of scary. But if you every time you kill one of them, each of them has a certain mob associated with it that will spawn a certain number of them, depending on which one you kill. So some of them will summon bone wheel, some of them will summon like the tougher skeletons, and some of them will summon a lot of the easier skeletons. And it really just depends on what order you take them out. The entire idea behind the fight is really cool. Bonus note, also in randomized runs, this is the funniest boss fight in the game because they can be any 3 random enemies, and then when you kill them, it'll summon like 15 like Smelter Demons or something. But beyond that, I think it's a really cool fight. I like the aesthetic of the 3 skeleton lords and the whole way it works, where it's like threat management, and it doesn't feel like it's a BS swarm of enemies because you can manage how quickly the enemies come out. You can take out one skeleton lord and kite around. There's like mountains to hide behind, and then like fight some of the skeletons.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those fights you would look at and go, "Oh, lame gank fight," but it's kind of like not that bad. It's very manageable. I mean, you have to take your time, but it's definitely beatable, even on a blind playthrough for sure.
Where would you put this?
I don't know. Like, it's not the most interesting fight, but it's kind of cool. Maybe like here.
It feels like there's a big gap between Smelter Demon and Velstadt, and this fits then somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
It's like Velstadt's significantly better than the. Yeah, I'll give him B because it's an interesting idea too.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, I'll give it B. It's like a low B, but I think it's a B.
Although to be fair, it might help to put it in C to lower the gap between Velstadt. But Ava, the king's pet. All right, this boss is kind of, once again, I did it in co-op, but I think this boss is really free and like it's really easy. It just jumps around and turns invisible, and then you just run up to it, and then it shoots a laser that you just hide behind him.
It doesn't turn invisible. It is invisible.
Oh, it is invisible permanently. Yeah, that's right. And then you have to turn off the snow, and then you can see it.
Yeah. I actually think that Alpha's a really good one-on-one fight. Well, not really good, but it's a pretty decent one-on-one fight. Definitely better than most of the filler fights in C tier. Because in the one-on-one situation, it is very singular target focused. So fighting it one-on-one, the only time you get a chance to heal is when it backs off to cast the homing crystal soul mass it does, and then immediately you have to deal with a very scary, homing crystal soul mass
Yeah.
immediately after. So it's a lot more intense because the healing time, you don't get as much time to heal in that fight, as opposed to it's a lot like Smelter Demon in that way, where it's like, because it's a one-on-one fight, it's more about finding times to heal when you do mess up rather than about actually having a lot of difficulty dodging the attacks of the boss. But because it's such a big arena, if you're doing it multiplayer, then Ava becomes really free, because you can just back off and then Ava won't be able to hit you.
Yeah, and when she goes to cast her Great Crystal Soul Mass, you just beat the crap out of her.
Yeah. I would say this fight is actually pretty decent. Like, I would say this is like Smelter Demon level. Maybe a little bit worse, but
Okay.
I actually like this fight a lot.
There
Just
you go.
having played it solo, I like that fight a lot more than... I think it was way easier multiplayer. We like Stalk.
Yeah, because I didn't do it solo, I liked the Smelter Demon a bit more, so I'll put her right under.
But that fight is meant to be done solo, unlike the next fight, which is the same thing, but 2.
Bruh.
And it's meant for... It's the multiplayer area. Unfortunately, see, the difference here is that this boss is...
Lud and Zalen. Bruh.
Not very good, because it's not like fighting one of them with 2 people each and just 2 one-on-one fights, because that boss still needs to be beatable by one person. It's like fighting a weaker version, but they heal a lot.
Yeah.
Which is really lame, that they can heal for that much.
With the right build, you can almost kill the first tiger before you have to deal with the second tiger, but...
Yeah, single player, I didn't even know that they had healing, because I killed one, and before I killed the other, like, pretty quickly, and I, like, was doing pretty well. Well, I didn't kill one before the other one attacked me, but I singled it out and I got it killed before the healing really triggered, and I didn't even realize it was healing. But because of the way damage adds to the health, the boss health bar, if you're playing with multiple people, it becomes very hard to take out one of these guys.
Yeah, because when you play in co-op, they have more HP, so you can't really take out the first one before the second one spawns. And because of the way these guys' AI work, they will both hit one guy pretty much all the time. Sometimes they'll hit your co-op partner, and then you can heal up, and you're like, oh, thank goodness. But it's still usually a 2-on-1 fight. And then when you get only one, they heal for a lot. And it's like, bro.
Yeah, I would say.
And the run back. Oh, if you lose once, you have to run through horse hell.
Yeah. Okay, I don't want to talk about runbacks too much.
Sometimes they affect the boss fight, though.
But they affect this boss fight. They affect this boss fight, and they affect Sir Alone for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the worst. This is the worst runback in the entire series.
Yeah, for sure. Horse hell is the worst. It's just the worst. It's so bad. Anyway, Lud and Zalen, they're kind of just Alma, but shitters this time, and can heal.
Yeah, this is significantly worse than the Ava, because it's not paced correctly, and the severe drop in difficulty after you've killed one.
Yeah.
Single player doesn't work. Multiplayer, it's awful because of the healing. You can.
This
like,
boss is kind of just designed poorly, but.
Yeah, I would put this at like Vendrick tier, where it's just poorly designed. Next to Gravetender and Vendrick, the poorly designed segment of the tier list.
There you go.
I like them more than Demon of Song, I will say.
Demon of Song is lamer, but he's easier.
Yeah, I would rather fight Demon of Song, but I think that I don't know.
Lud and Zalen, I guess, have some interesting mechanics. Demon of Song doesn't really. But...
Yeah, Demon of Song has interesting mechanics. They just don't fit in the game that you're playing.
Well,
so.
Yeah, I guess. A Royal Rat Authority. Bro, this boss...
What if Sif wasn't interesting and had the problem of Capra Demon, where you get rushed down by 4 rats, along with the Royal Rat Authority at the beginning? But then if you kill all of them, it's just like Sif but bad.
You kind of like don't even know that this boss exists, and then you fight him like at the end of the game as one of the last bosses, and then he like poisons you, and you're like, you cunt, and then you kill him.
You don't fight this at the end of the game necessarily. I think we just fought it really late because we never.
I fought him really late. You can fight him early, but I think most people don't forget that this area
it's not,
is in the
it's not,
game.
there's not really a lot of reason to fight him. He's not blocking much off.
No.
Like, it's just kind of a fight you can do if you want to. If you
Yeah,
get
I
around
mean,
to
if you fight him early, just get stun locked by rats and get poisoned, and that's the boss fight. If you fight him late, I mean, you kind of don't get stun locked by rats anymore, but you still get poisoned, and this guy is really fast, and he just, like, runs, and you're just like, bruh.
The question is he like a D tier boss or like a C tier boss?
He's like,
And that's
I don't think he's offensive enough to be too low, but he's also not good enough to be high. I don't know, I'll probably put him at, like, below Last Giant.
sure. That makes sense. Yeah, he's either like a low C tier or high D tier. I don't know where exactly, but
He's
I'm not too stressed about
somewhere
that
in
one.
that zone. Old
Yeah.
Iron, that one hole in the back of the Arena King. Literally, this fight, he just like slowly walks up to you and does nothing and dies. But there's a hole in the arena that you fall into, and then you die instantly to lava. Bro, this guy's a cunt.
Yeah.
I hate this boss.
You know how you know how the Smelter Demon has a thing where the fight would be better if the arena wasn't awful. Imagine the same thing, but you die instantly if you ever step off into the bad part of the arena, instead of just taking a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It's an overreaction to a slight misstep. I think they could have made this fight a lot cooler if he attacked faster and the arena wasn't terrible.
Yeah, if the arena
But
was
he just
cool and
kinda
he
sits
had
there.
moves that like took effort to dodge, I would like this fight a lot.
Yeah, but he just kind of sits there and takes damage, and occasionally will throw an attack, and then you'll roll into the pit and die.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So just
it's also sometimes if you don't really know what his mechanics are, he'll just push you into the lava and you'll die. It's like, all right.
this is like only barely better than Moonlight Butterfly because you can attack him during the entire time, pretty much.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty much
agree
Moonlight
with that.
Butterfly 2.0. It's better than Beta Chaos.
Yeah,
The
it
whole
is better
doesn't
than
just
Meta
appear
Chaos.
randomly.
That's true. It doesn't just appear under you. I mean, it kind of feels like it, but it doesn't. Giant Lord. Is his like running to him? Do we count that as a part of his boss fight?
No. I mean, it's part of the run back essentially, but not really. No.
Because
Giant Lord is really cool lore-wise. Other than that,
the
he's
fight
kinda
is
just-
you press B when a sword gets near you, then you hit him, then you press B when a sword gets near you, then you
He's
hit
kind
him,
of-
and then he
he's kind of-
dies.
He's kind of a lot like the last giant, but faster. I think he's supposed to be kind of like maybe he's another version of like Stray Demon, essentially, where you start with the last giant and then you get Giant Lord, who's like a very similar fight where he just does sweeping attacks underneath you, but he hits way harder. And
Yeah,
he's
but
way faster.
unfortunately, you
But he-
fight him in a corner.
Yeah, he's
while
not
like
really,
catapults are trying to kill you.
he's not really like upgraded enough to the point of him actually being that much more interesting than the last giant. He just has way more damage.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I don't think he
But
succeeds
not
at
even
that.
enough to where it's like, oh, this boss is bullshit. He killed me in a single hit, and I have to do the run back over again.
No, he's just very forgettable. This is like a heavy C tier boss, I think.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like a boss that exists.
He's a boss.
You put him next to the Rotten or something.
Maybe I'll put him higher than that. I'll
Sure.
put him next to like Taurus. Probably.
I'm surprised you put him that high. Fair enough.
Old Dragon Slayer. Kind of just Ornstein. You know, a decent amount weaker because you can fight him a
I
lot
actually
earlier,
think
but...
just Ornstein is a cooler fight than Ornstein and sometimes. Not really, but
Yeah.
like for the point in the game you fight him.
I mean, to be fair, if we're talking about just Ornstein, we can talk about hold on, where is he at? He's down here somewhere.
Nameless King is not
Dragon Slayer armor. There we go.
That's not Ornstein. That's not Ornstein at all. That's
pretty
very
sure he
different.
is in the lore. I'm pretty sure that's just Ornstein.
I don't think it is. But either way, even if it is Ornstein as a person, that fight is very different than the Old Dragon Slayer armor.
That's true.
Old Dragon Slayer is. This is the point of the video where I'm struggling to talk about some of the bosses here, because Old Dragon Slayer sure is just like Ornstein from Dark Souls 1. I don't really have a lot of things to
He
good
kinda
insights on
is.
this one.
Uh,
Um,
he's a little weaker than Ornstein, just because of the timing.
yeah, he doesn't have that charge, like instant charge. He's got like a more of a time to charge. I don't know.
Um,
He's less.
he's
He
there.
he's heavy. He's another C tier boss. He's just kind of a
Put him like
non-offensive, like just filler boss.
here, probably.
Sure. I think Four Kings should be higher than Seath.
Okay. I'm not mad about that at all.
Yeah, I know. I think you don't like Seath at all, so I figured Four Kings could be higher than him. Sir Alone. This is one that we are divisive on.
Look,
I think this is the best duel in
I
the entire Dark Souls
it's
2.
weird actually. I
This
think
is
a
the equivalent-
lot of Dark Souls players think that Sir Alone is like top 5 boss fights in the entire series.
I would almost put him there. Maybe not top 5. He's definitely top 10, my opinion. Sir Alone is really, really tight, tightly focused on the dodging and timing of everything. You really can't keep your eye off of that guy for a second. He jumps backwards across the room to like follow up with a charge, and then you get like one chance to hit him before he jumps back and prepares another attack or goes to do another combo.
I like the idea.
The biggest problems with this boss. There's 2 big problems with this boss. Other than that, I would say they're about the same as Artorias. But the 2 big problems with this boss is that it doesn't have the tight hitbox that Artorias has, because especially that stab move can literally just teleport you onto the sword, even if you very clearly dodged it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really bad if you get hit by that.
Yeah, because then he gets
He likes to
powered
use
up.
that move a decent amount, yeah.
And this
And
is
then-
not a boss that wants you to heal very much.
No, you really need to find the times to heal. And then the other problem with this fight, which also makes it terrible, and they realized with the Sartorius and they didn't do it with this boss, which I don't know why, is they gave this boss like the second worst run back in the entire series, besides the King's Pets.
Yeah.
And it is horrible. You have to dodge like a billion of the knights who are like shooting at you.
Yeah, and then you have to kill a
run at you
salamander like
quickly.
every time and then jump down.
There's there's like a salamander in the way that shoots fire at you. It's just a horrible run back. They make you do it every time. And if you actually try to take it slow in the run back, it'll just take all of your Estus in the time. You like it's supposed to be a run back where you just dodge and run past enemies. And I think that's bad design, because I think you should be trying to fight enemies in the way. Running past them should be like a last
And
resort.
there's also the secondary thing to where if you take it slow, you could just get kicked out of the thing because it's a dream.
Oh yeah, and there's that too. It's just a lot of bad decisions stacked on top of each other for that. On the other hand, the actual boss fight itself is so good besides that.
I think the fight's cool.
I think that this fight is an A tier fight.
But there is 2 caveats that make me like it less. One is that I think they could have done a little bit better on the animations, because a lot of times when he does like backflips back or forward or whatever, he just like slides a couple feet every time. And it doesn't really affect the difficulty of the fight. But it's like kind of weird, because it's like it feels like he's on ice, but you're not on ice, you know?
Well, no, I think it is intentional, because if you look at the ground, it's like really, really polished. And I
Yeah.
think he's supposed to be using like a specific fighting style that uses really polished floors and has like his shoes are like super low traction. So we can actually like mega slide across.
Yeah, you might be right about that. And then that one stab that just teleports you onto the sword. It's like,
The
okay.
stab,
But otherwise, the fight's really cool. Like,
fun fact about that stab: if you dodge to the right, it like barely ever will hook you on, but if you dodge to the left, it'll almost every time you'll teleport on. It's a very awkward hitbox. They should have fixed that one. But other than that, I think this fight is really excellent.
I mean, I'll still put it in
It's
A
kind of
tier.
like
Better than that, better than that, better
they're
than
still
that.
learning how to make a really good boss fight here, but it's still pretty good. I would put it above.
I think I personally would put it here, but
That's
I don't
fair.
know.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's actually a good place to put it.
if you want me to put it higher, I could be convinced. But I think that's where I would put it.
I think the Pursuer is for what it is a better boss fight. It's such a good early game boss fight that I can't say it's better than that. But I think Sir Alone is just a hair better than Burnt Ivory King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, almost done with
Few
DS2.
more.
Almost there. Flexile
Are you doing
Sentry
the random order where the third to the last boss we review is
Flexile Sentry.
Where now that you've talked about all these bosses, now you have to think about something to say about Flexile Sentry.
Look, I
who's,
can
like,
I can literally do this in 2 seconds. You ready? All right. The area's cool. The ghost ship's awesome. You go into it, you're like, oh shit, like it's a weird like two-headed pirate. Then he's like kind of disappointingly easy, and you move on. Boom. Flexile Sentry, C tier boss,
there
easy.
you go.
He's like probably here.
All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna disagree. We could just move on from that one.
Belfry Gargoyles. Look, they're the Bell Gargoyles from Dark Souls 1, but there's 3 of them this time. Haha.
Actually, like 4.
Oh yeah, there is 4, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you fight them later, and they're kind of optional, so, you know.
Actually, we fought them significantly later than you normally fight them.
Yeah, I
Because
guess. If you fight them
the
when
last
you
game.
can fight them, then, you know.
You just fight them whenever you want to fight
But
them.
that's
It's another one of those boss
That's
fights
kind of
that
how
just
Dark Souls
basically-
2 is designed, is they kind of have, like, one area that's really long, and you can just keep going if you want. But most of the time you go back to another area, and then it's kind of like Demon Souls level design in a way, the way Dark Souls 2 is set up.
Yeah.
But
I would say Belfry Gargoyles are honestly just like another filler boss.
they're fine. I like them enough to where I'd put them like probably above Dragon Rider.
It's a cool callback. But
that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah.
Aldia. His lore is awesome. Everything he says is awesome. He's really cool. And did I say awesome? I'll say it again. But he's fight sucks.
He's pretty easy. But I can't in good faith give him less than like at least a B tier.
Bruh, he just shoots firestorms. That's it. That's the whole fight.
It looks really cool. Like, he looks cool. The arena is cool. His lore is really cool. Everything he says is cool. Everything is so cool, except for the fact that it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people play Dark Souls for challenge, so I understand where that can be a letdown. But if you like anything else about Dark Souls besides the challenge, this boss fight is a good fight.
Look, there's a middle ground for me in Dark Souls, alright? I like challenge, but I don't like to put my balls on a cheese grater, okay?
Oh. Well, I mean, that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm just
Aldia is pretty good. He's pretty good.
If difficulty isn't the end all be all, then you should rate this boss at least like a B tier.
I'll put him here.
Okay. That's fair.
Okay, good. I'm glad that's fair. Boom. We're almost done, baby. 4-hour editing session. Let's go.
Like 2/3 of the way through. Still got a third left.
Kind of. Dark Souls 2 is the majority, though.
That's true. We're like actually like 3/4 of the way through.